Good afternoon, folks. I hope if you're fasting, your fast is going well. And it is afternoon while I'm recording this. Don't know when it'll get uploaded, but it is afternoon right now. So if you're doing that, I hope it's going well for you. If you're not, all right. Whatever. To each their own, right? But yeah, mine's been a little challenging. Got hit with some stuff from work today. Didn't expect to get hit with. It is what it is, you know. It's one of those days. Some days better than others, but hey, if it was easy, everybody'd do it, right? So, but it's overall doing all right. But just wanted to preface it like that, and I'm going to talk to y'all about something that is going to be pretty interesting, I think, for people. Got to open your mind for this one, if you want to, that is. During the fast, you know, you fast, you pray in the Spirit, and if you are able to, you know, you might get a revelation, some clarity and so forth. And I think I may have gotten some. And it kind of took me off guard, because I wasn't expecting this type of clarity. And if I am hearing correctly, and I believe I am on this, because I was just texting a friend and told them about my revelation, the clarity I received, and they agreed. They said it was pretty much the same thing that they received. And it really boils down to this. Got to be careful here. Be very careful. This is what I believe. I'm not saying this is fact. I'm not saying that it's for sure. I'm saying this is what I believe. This is what I think. Okay? This is what's in my heart. I think we got played, folks. I'm just gonna say it. I think we got played. Now a lot of people have already shut me off right here. They don't want to hear it. Nobody wants to hear that they got played, that they're being deceived or possibly being deceived, hoodwinked, bamboozled. Nobody wants to admit that we can be deceived, we can be played, that we can be manipulated. I'm going to tell you why I believe this. All right? Through research and prayer. They've done it to us before. Today's 9/11. Need I say more? I know that rhymes, but I didn't really mean for it to, but it works. They've done it to us before. Today's 9/11. Need I say more? A lot of you know what I'm talking about. Others of you may not. In Butler, Pennsylvania, they did it to us then. Some people may disagree, say that's not true. It didn't happen that way, and you know, and it's the way they present it, and it's the way they told us, and this is the way it is, and this is the person that was responsible, and on and on and on it goes. I thought this might be different, what happened yesterday. And it's possible it could be. I'm going to play for you two scenarios. Okay, I've got more, but I'm only going to play for you two, because the third one will get me in a whole lot of trouble. So I'm only going to play for you two. All right? The first one is the one that I believe is true. Okay? Now, there's a YouTube channel, and I guess the guy's on X or maybe TikTok as well. And I think it's called Flat Earth Finder, which anybody that listens to me or whatever knows I don't believe in a flat earth. However, because this was sent to me by a friend and I recognized who the person was in the video, I just didn't know the name of their channel. I watched it, and it's very short, and I listened to what he had to say. And it made a whole lot of sense to me, because it kind of backed up what I believe I received while praying and fasting. And I wasn't even necessarily praying about this per se, but when you're praying in the Spirit, you don't know what you're saying. I'm just simply praying in the Spirit, just worshiping the Lord, praying in the Spirit. And this is when this came to me. And what the words that came to me was, "You're wrong." And I was like, "About what?" "Everything." Okay. I can receive that. Because the older I get, the less proud. And you recognize you don't know nearly as much as you think you do. You're not as smart as you think you are. You're not as wise as you think you are. You try to be smart. You try to be wise. Like I said earlier, I try to hang out with people who are smarter than me and wiser than me. So, it wears off basically. So I become more intelligent and more wise. And you also pray for wisdom if you're smart. So anyway, I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I will openly admit I'm wrong. I've been corrected by people where I've realized that I'm wrong, and I will admit that I'm wrong. Some people probably think, "You never admit you're wrong. You're always right about everything." No. I don't really feel that way. And if I portray that, or if people perceive that about me, trust me, I'm probably more wrong than I am right. However, in saying that, I do my best to try to help people to see things that they may not otherwise see. And that's what Flat Earth Finder did on his channel. I guess it was on X and TikTok, and he has an actual YouTube channel as well. And when I'm done with this, I might share the video. People can look at it themselves and see what they think. So the first thing I'm going to play for you all, I'm going to try to picture this, okay, is we've been played before. All right? We've been deceived before. We've been lied to before. Probably more times than people realize or would care to admit. Because like I said, nobody wants to admit that they're wrong. That means you have to swallow your pride. That means you have to come out and say, "I was wrong. And I believe I was wrong. And this is what I was wrong about." I thought this whole thing actually happened the way it appeared that it did. There were some things I questioned. I was suspicious about. And it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, and I'll go over that. But you watch the Flat Earth Finder video, you go to X, TikTok, and I actually did share the one. I shared a lot of stuff to the post, but I actually did share the one where it appears we are in a time of great deception, as we know, and illusions. And it appears that we may not have seen what we thought we saw. And I'm reminded of the movie The Prestige. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that movie. Excellent movie. It's got Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale, Scarlett Johansson in it. Made in I think 2006. It's a Christopher Nolan film. And I like Christopher Nolan movies. I've pretty much probably seen every Christopher Nolan movie. Because he makes me think. His movies are just, they're mysteries that make you really think and try to figure things out. And try to come up with your own conclusion. Because he kind of leaves it open to, what do you think? What do you think happened? He doesn't wrap it up for you. If you've seen Inception or Interstellar or the Batman movies, what was the original? I guess it was called Batman. I can't remember right now. Anyway, I think it was Dark Knight Rises, Memento, any of these movies, and The Prestige, and I'm sure he's done others, I just can't think of them right now. They make you think. And I mean, he doesn't really wrap it up for you. And The Prestige is definitely one of those movies. And it's about these two illusionists. People might call them magicians or whatever, but they're not really practicing magic. They are practicing illusion, deception, basically. And they are in competition with each other. And one of them wants to take the shortcut, and doesn't mind, hosing over the guy he's in competition with, because at first they're partners. And he's very ambitious and he wants to be top dog, where the other one is willing to do whatever it takes, sacrifice whatever he has to, not to be top dog, but because he enjoys his act, I guess you could say, his performance. He enjoys the work, whatever people want to call it, but it's based on illusion and, in a way, deception, because the crowd, the audience, is not seeing what they think they're seeing. And in this day and age of holograms, and someone actually asked me about that, was this a hologram? And I said, I don't think so. And I don't know if it is or not, because this is a time of great deception. A great deception. And we can't just take it at face value as much as I would like to. And I'm not saying that the man is alive. I don't know. I am not saying that we have been played to that point. I do not know. I don't know. But we are in a time of illusion and deception and clones and AI and robotics and lookalikes and fakery and all kinds of stuff. So this is what I think we saw. We saw what they wanted us to see, because it appears that the victim, of yesterday, or the purported victim, is part of the club, if you know what I mean. It appears that there is enough evidence and proof out there, and club members don't knock each other off, if you know what I mean. Okay? But what they do is protect each other, if you know what I mean. They remove people. They take them out of the limelight and they put them somewhere where they can live happily ever after, or whatever. Protect them, their families. Now, usually when that happens, and I believe it happens a lot, I don't care. I only care when they're a criminal, and then they get away with it, and then they get to live happily ever after. I care then. I care when they're a criminal and they hurt people, and it's proven that they hurt people, and they deserve justice. I care then. But if it's somebody that's they just want to be gone from the limelight, and if it's on the taxpayer dollar, yeah, that's not right. But if they're just removed from the limelight, they're just gone, them, their family, whatever, they're like, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm gone. I mean, they've showed it to us in movies before. Okay? They have. Alright? It's just like the Avengers movie come to mind. They faked Nick Fury's death. People have seen I think it was Captain America Winter Soldier. I think that's what it was. Where, everybody believed he was dead, had a funeral for him, grave, everything, but he wasn't. They've shown it to us, is my point. They've shown us in movies, they've shown us in TV shows. The 24 series, the character Tony Almeida, everybody thought he was dead. He shows up like 2 seasons later as a bad guy, basically. But everybody thought he was dead. They led you to believe that he was dead. I'm not saying that the purported victim, I guess that's the word, I don't know, of yesterday is not dead. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it is possible that we've been played. And when I was told during prayer, you're wrong about everything. Well, I thought, wow, it's impossibly wrong about everything. I mean, okay. But I knew what it was referring to. It's like what I believe to be true is actually not true. Now, how do you pull this off? How do you convince the world? That I do not know. I'm not in movie magic. I'm not an illusionist. I don't practice these things. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to figure that out. I don't know that much about AI and the other things that have been used before to fool us and trick us and deceive us. I don't know. We live in the Twilight Zone, man. This is the Matrix. I don't know. I do know what they showed in The Prestige, though. In the movie The Prestige. And for the life of me, I still can't figure out the end of that movie. I don't know how many times I've watched it. And I still can't figure out the end of it. It's a mystery. I can't figure it out. You know? It appears the dude's dead, but maybe he's not dead. In the movie The Prestige I'm talking about. I don't know. Like I said, Christopher Nolan leaves it up to you to decide. And so getting back to the kind of reality of the situation here, we might have been played, bamboozled, hoodwinked. Why? This is the part I'm right about. To incite, like I said earlier in the other video, to incite and invoke emotional response, hopefully anger, if that's what they want, to divide and to conquer. That's pretty much what Flat Earth Finder's video was called, and that's what I mentioned earlier. It's about division, dividing people, and making them hate each other even more. You know, white on black crime, black on white crime, whatever crime, you know, whatever divides people, religion, you know, color of skin, you know, philosophies, beliefs, whatever it is, sex is whatever, you know, whatever divides people and makes people hate each other, that's what will be used. And they've done it before. So why wouldn't they do it again? And why wouldn't they do it with this? And this is what really started to make me question. I only saw what was shared with me from X or whatever, and the other things I did, I had seen before, you know, on other platforms and everything. And I didn't watch everything, but the thing that made the most sense to me about this is apparently, this is why I thought it was legitimate. And I'm not 100% convinced that it's not. But at the same time, if I heard correctly that I'm wrong, then I have to accept that I'm wrong about this. But this is what I believe what happened. He was wearing a bullet-resistant vest, apparently, supposedly. Well, that opened up questions for me right there. It's just like, why? I mean, if you're afraid people are going to kill you, you know, why are you sitting up there where anybody can do whatever? You know, yeah, there's security to a certain extent, I guess. But if there's a will, there's a way. Why risk yourself? You have a wife and 2 small children. Why do that? So I'm thinking, okay. So he's got the bullet. If he's got a bullet-resistant vest on, well, Kevlar, whatever. Okay, and there's usually a metal plate that's right over the chest, a chest plate. Okay, I'm thinking, all right, if that's what happened, all right, so I'm thinking, well, then who would want to do this? Well, of course, you know, they roll out some college skippy, right? You know, expect us to believe it's him. expect us to believe that it's these people that they roll out in front of us. Well, let me tell you something, okay? This is one heck of a shot, if that's what occurred. Now, this is why I thought that it happened, because this is what made sense to me. Even though I never heard of this, it's possible. And I'll get to the college Skippy in a second, okay? But that's what I call these kids. All right, not trying to be disrespectful, really, but at the same time, I've had enough run-ins that that's what I call them, okay? I'm 55, I don't take garbage from 20-year-olds, all right? I'm just saying. So anyway, I think what happened was, this is what I thought happened, all right? I've never heard of this happening before, but it is possible. The bullet hits, and it hits the chest plate, and if it hits like the top of the chest plate and it ricochets off, it could go into your neck. That made sense to me, especially a bullet from that distance, from what was likely a high-powered rifle. And bullets from those they will tumble, depending upon the type of round it is. A lot of them tumble in the air, so when they hit the target, they really tear through things. Okay? Now, and the tumbling through the air, when it hits the breastplate, the chest plate, what have you, and if it ricochets off and it goes into the neck, if it nicks the carotid artery, you're going to bleed out pretty quick. You can't put a tourniquet around someone's neck. I mean, they need immediate medical attention to stop that arterial bleeding. I didn't see any of that. Now, I didn't watch all the way through, and I didn't see any footage that was all the way through, but I didn't see a lot of arterial blood spurting or anything of that nature. But I thought maybe it nicked the carotid artery, and then it caused this, it may have caused some bleeding, and I just didn't see it because I didn't watch far enough, or maybe they didn't have that kind of footage. I don't know. What I saw was the hole in the neck. And then it made me question an exit wound. There should be an exit wound. Why isn't there an exit wound? From that distance, and with a high-powered rifle, which is what it most likely would be, there'd be an exit wound. And the exit wound is always larger than the entrance wound. So it probably would have blown the back of his neck out with the exit wound. And I'm like, okay, well, without forensic report, ballistics report, or an autopsy, how do you really know? You don't. So it's open to speculation. I'm thinking, okay, that makes sense to me. He's concerned for his life. He wears the bullet-resistant vest. He has the chest plate in there. The bullet ricochets off the chest plate high enough on to ricochet into his neck. I'm thinking, okay, I can buy that. All right. At first I thought it might have been a direct neck shot, and it's just like, okay, but you would aim for the chest, though. You'd aim for the heart. It's a larger target. It's center mass. It's, now really good snipers would aim for the head or right below the nose. So when the bullet went through, it would sever the brainstem. Okay? Medulla oblongata. Okay? Snipers know this. People in the military know this. It is. Okay? That's what they train for. I know this because I used to hang out with Marines. I also know this because I was in security and law enforcement for quite a while. And I was a Master at Arms in the Navy, which is also law enforcement. That's how I know this. I spent a lot of time on the range. I've shot all kinds of weapons. I've learned about bullets and calibers of bullets and what they do and from certain distances and how they tumble and so forth and so on. I don't know everything, not even close. I'm not an expert. I'm not a gunsmith. I'm not an armorer. I just know a few things. I've learned a few things over the years. So A direct neck wound would have been much more traumatic, I would think. The ricochet is what made more sense to me. Why not go for the head? Thinking maybe they were, but they missed and accidentally shot. I was just speculating on all of this. And then I see these guys with the baseball signals in the back. I mean, what is this about? If people have seen the videos, it's like, what's going on here? What is this signals about? I mean, either these guys really love baseball or they're signaling to somebody. And didn't we see the same thing with Butler with the shooter on the roof? Didn't we see the same thing? You know? But anyway, I'm like, what's with the signals? And so I'm thinking, okay, maybe they're signaling that, this was before I realized that I'm most likely wrong. All right? Maybe they're signaling that the dude's got a vest on, so don't shoot there. You gotta go for the head or the neck. Maybe that's what they were signaling, is for the headshot. I don't know. But what's interesting to me is with this whole thing is it was an elaborate plan. And the other reason, whether it happened or didn't, and I'm leaning more toward it didn't now, because that's what I got in prayer after fasting. I haven't eaten since 10 o'clock last night. I've hardly even drank anything. Okay? I'm taking this very seriously because I don't want to be deceived, and I don't want other people to be deceived. And like I said before, I want lives to be saved, souls to be saved, give people an opportunity, a chance. So, the other reason I thought that this might be legit is because after a while, the purported victim changed his tune, his stance on a few things regarding Israel and regarding the Epstein files. He wanted them released, supposedly, at least that's what he talked about publicly, and he, although supported Israel before, he began to kind of back off of that a little bit. And I found it very interesting. I didn't know about Bibi at first, but I knew that the dumpster jumped on this thing right away. I mean, he was like Johnny on the spot, man. I mean, he was on the ball, jumping on this thing right away, you know, with his tweet or whatever, his messaging, and, you know, about what occurred and this and that. And he was like the first one to report. And apparently Bibi did the same thing. I didn't know that at the time. And I'm thinking, well, if you want to look like you're completely innocent, that's what you do. Kind of like the arsonist that starts the fire, then hangs around and watches his work or her work afterwards as a so-called innocent bystander, and other criminals that hang around the crime scene so they look completely innocent. And that's why I thought that because of his stance, the change on his stance on certain things, that he might have made himself a target in that way. And that is still possible, I suppose. But regardless, I'm leaning more toward we've been played, we've been bamboozled, hoodwinked, deceived. Why? Because they've done it to us before. They've done it to us many times before. Why wouldn't we think that this time would be any different? At first, I did, because of the reasons I told you. And like I said, the last one, I'm not going to go into because I just don't feel comfortable. But I kind of mentioned it before, if you caught it, being in the club and club members take care of their own. So I think that's about all I have on this. Other than the fact that the college Skippy that they're rolling out in front of us, most likely not unless he was born with a sniper rifle in his hand. or he has been shooting his whole life. Most likely not. This was an expert, most likely, if it occurred. This was somebody from an agency, or maybe a Winter Soldier. Some people might get the reference, other people may not. I mentioned it, Captain America, Winter Soldier. Check out who the Winter Soldier is if you don't know. Someone like that could do something like this, if it actually occurred. But I'm leaning more toward it didn't. And if I'm wrong about that, so be it. But I'll admit that I'm wrong. I have no problem admitting I'm wrong, especially when I hear it in the spirit. It's just like, yes, sir. And if I'm wrong about this, and I said I'm just as human as the next person, I'm not a prophet, I'm not anything special. I just don't like to be deceived myself, and I don't like other people being deceived. I don't want you to be deceived by this, because we are in a time of great delusion, a grand illusion, and deception. And I don't want to see people get hurt. And, you know, whether people believe this happened or didn't happen won't probably hurt them one way or the other. But if we fall for this, we'll fall for other things. And we got to be very, very careful about this, because the ultimate goal is to divide us and to make people hate each other over whatever. So we got to love each other, we got to care for each other, we got to help each other, we got to practice the golden rule, we got to serve the Lord, we got to serve each other where we can, and hopefully not be deceived, and hopefully we can come together and support each other, even if we don't always agree on every single aspect of everything. Okay? I got to work on that myself. You know, I understand. I'm a work in progress, big time. I got to work on that myself. That's part of the fasting and prayer. You get clarity. Hopefully, you know, you get some things that, and you're told some things you need to work on, and you I don't know, you just I guess you just have a lot of self-reflection, and you look inside yourself and you say, man, I got some stuff I got to work on, man. I got to be better at this and do better at that, and so forth and so on. Not to beat yourself up. You're just introspective. You know, you're subjective. You know, and then you go from there. So anyway, it's going to be very interesting to see how the whole thing plays out and what they do, because, man, it's a time of great deception and a grand illusion. And I think that's what I'm going to call this. I'm going to borrow from Will, if you don't mind, Will. I'm just going to call it a grand illusion with a question mark. Because maybe this didn't happen. Check out the movie The Prestige. It's a great film. Very, very good movie. Really make you think. And you'll be like, man, I don't know about this. And you talk about mixing science with illusion, and, you know, to deceive people and to making them think they're seeing things that they really aren't. That's the time we live in, folks. That's the time we live in. All right, I got to go. Y'all take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.